Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red.
Working to get every player ready for when their name is called, and there might be a stretch where we aren't making any subs here coming up, so I thought this was a great opportunity to get more people involved and see what they can do and get them comfortable for when they're needed, because there's going to be big moments that I believe we're going to need a good handful of players that aren't starters.
Their run game and then their play actions and their bootlegs off the run game are their bread and butter. You know, that's a pro style offense that's going to set you up with trying to force you to maximize your box count to defend the run so that they can take some shots over the top of you. And we've got to do a good job of defending that run game, playing with good eye discipline so nobody can get behind us and we don't give up any explosive plays in the run game, but also in the pass game because we're overcommitting to the run. You know, we're stepping into Big Ten play, no disrespect to the previous teams we played, but the competition level is going to increase. We understand that. The challenges are going to increase, but our approach isn't going to change.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, Honky, and I'm with Redcast Abby.
I am so sweaty, and I might still hurl. We'll see. No idea. No idea.
Good reason. That was a 5-set thriller, but we'll talk about that in a second here, Abby. Also with Redcast Rob.
Oh my God, nobody's
Who does not know how to take mute off his microphone after how many years of doing the Redcast?
Well, you used to do it for me, and I just, it's like I still need you to change my diaper. All right.
Yes, I understand.
I got nothing.
All right. Well, and I'm also with Redcast Boomer.
Well, a heck of a time tonight. Just have to do my quick Creighton fan impression. So, there we go. All right. How about that Nebraska, guys? Huh?
There we go. We got the blue shirt off now, and now he's got the red shirt on. Boomer's ready to go. I mean, really, Creighton is the best 5-5 team of all time, and I think for Jayskers, they should appreciate that kind of analogy there. So, that was a hell of a game, a hell of a match. My goodness, it went down to the end. But no, Abby, no concerns at all, right? No, you weren't worried, no sweating at all, right?
No, I definitely wasn't pacing around my living room, chugging water, trying not to hurl while cussing at Dustin for something that wasn't even his fault. But I got so mad. And it was fine. It was totally in control the whole time. Never had any worries. We definitely looked like the number one team in the country tonight.
Well, it was a ranked opponent there. It was on the road. It was an unbelievable environment.
It's rivalries, right? What does that tell you? It does not matter what it is. Rivalries, especially lately with Creighton, with how good they've been, and KBB left them in a really good place. So, but it's just like, come on, guys.
Abby, were you trying to say that number one was looking like number two?
No, but I'm not saying that. Robert, that is a poop joke and I'm not doing it, but it's just like, it's that thing of how do we sweep Stanford, who pushed Texas to 5, and then drop to Creighton, who got swept. But it's just like when the team is on, they are the best team in the country and no one can beat them, and when they're not on, I get real nervous and sweaty. Yeah. I still think they're the best team, but it's just like they fry my heart and my nerves so much.
It kind of reminds me a little bit. Nebraska volleyball is kind of like what Alabama football was. And then they would struggle against Auburn, the in-state team, but they'd actually lose. And what's amazing about Nebraska volleyball right now with Creighton is we've seen what Creighton's success has been now for 5-10 years. They are one of the top programs in the country. They've won as many games as anybody out there. They cannot beat Nebraska for whatever the reason, and they've been some close ones now too. But that's it. Wow, what a monkey on their back! They just cannot get off, and I'm here to approve of it. I'm enjoying every second of it.
Yeah, and take all this as I say this with huge grain of salt that I'm still just really emotional about it all. But I mean, they showed some stat that Creighton is number 3 or 5 or something in the country for sets won. in the last 10 years. They're a very good volleyball team. And it is just a thing that like they figured out what works against us. And we made a lot of self-inflicted errors. But you're right. They're a ranked team. They're our rival. They're a very good team. You know, they were left in a good place, similar to how we were. They, lost a few more people to graduation, but this was going to be a good match. I just, if Emily Eamon were to listen to this, the amount of times she said, "This is what we want." No, it wasn't what we wanted. Not all of us wanted that, Emily.
Well, let's just go straight into courtside cooking. I think
Why not?
that's appropriate for tonight right now. We're going to get into it right away, and then we'll do some tweets of the week in the middle, and then at the end we're going to talk about there's a football game on Saturday going on in the state as well. So, but I mean, this is incredible. Huskers go to 9-0, remain number 1, undefeated, obviously. Creighton, this is a good team. I mean, I guess maybe before we even move on a little bit, Abby, talk a little bit about what Creighton's done so far this season. They are 5-5. I gave them, some gruff about that, but at the end of the day, they've also played a really challenging schedule up to this point as well. Talk a little bit about Creighton, what Nebraska just beat tonight.
Yeah, so all of Creighton's losses have now come to ranked teams. And at least one of them they pushed to 5. They've had a couple 4 sets. They're a good team. They're a young team, which I think is maybe, as I think next year, maybe the year after, they'll just continue to improve. They have to play a really hard non-con. So they have to do, like, I don't want to say we don't. Nebraska plays a hard non-con to get us ready and to like push ourselves. Creighton has to, because they have a goal of hosting at least the first round in the NCAA tournament, and they won't be able to do that with their conference schedule. Like the Big East is just not a volleyball team. They have to do this. They have to play. Well, they play Nebraska every year, but then they have to schedule a Penn State, a Texas, a Louisville, a Kansas. Like they have to keep doing this if they want any shot. And so, will they get the shot of it? We'll see. Like it's really tough to go 5-5 in your non-con and still get that home court. But, it depends. Who knows how the rest of the season is going to go for everybody else. So they, props to them. They play a tough schedule, and because they have such a lofty goal and they've earned it. I think at least last year, maybe the year before. So they've done this where they've hosted. So they know what they need to do, and they've typically are rising to the challenge. A little harder this year, I think, for them.
Yeah, Abby, I want to show you. I'm going to sneak in a couple of tweets of the week here along the way, but this one's from Emily Eamon tonight. It's official. The attendance for Husker Volleyball and Creighton Volleyball was 17,675. That sets the all-time regular season indoor record for women's volleyball. So again, and Boomer, you could probably go and look this up. There's how many of these top 10 all-time indoor records and everything is Nebraska involved in one way or the other, whether we're the home team or we're the away team. Nebraska is involved in so many of those. So that's a great stat by itself. And then the second one I want to point out
just real quick too, that they have to clarify that this is an indoor record, because obviously the outdoor record belongs to us. But it's amazing. It is like we make the jokes. I think everybody on Twitter and Nebraska fandom make the jokes about like the Caitlin Clark effect, and Nebraska's just the reverse Caitlin Clark effect or whatever it was that Scott called it. But it's true. People come to these games to see Nebraska play volleyball, to see those high ranking teams play. And I think that's amazing. I think it's great that now we hold the indoor and outdoor record. So
by breaking the indoor record, this is what Wisconsin had a couple years ago, like at the Kohl Center, right? The outdoor event that we had was kind of in response to what Wisconsin did. And then we just broke the indoor record anyways. And I say we, I mean, Creighton and us together, but we just,
the state of Nebraska broke it.
Yeah, the state of Nebraska broke it. And
yeah. And I think just to be on the lookout, I know that Indiana and Purdue are going to play at Gainfield, where I don't remember the name of it, wherever the Pacers and the Fever play, they have a match scheduled there. So that if they fill that would then break the indoor record, I believe. That'd be a pretty hard one. That's going to be pretty tricky to beat, but we're going to keep it for now, and we're going to co-claim it with Creighton. The state of Nebraska gets it.
Boomer, were you able to find any of those numbers?
Yes, I was just kind of looking at a quick scan here of let's see. This is from our good friends at the NCAA. Yeah, out of the top 10 attendance, some of these were, multiple games would be like, the Final Four, the attendance on that. But out of the 10, Nebraska is involved in 9 of them. So the only exception was Penn State and Louisville.
I'm seeing something that says 13 of the 14 largest crowds in collegiate history.
Yeah, if you can just go down the list, it's Nebraska is in almost every one of them.
Yeah.
Well, and some of this, especially with the indoor record, you literally just have to have a big enough indoor facility to be able to host something like that. In this case tonight, the CHI Center is a little bit larger, a couple thousand larger than what Pinnacle Bank is. And so, but yeah, to your point there, Abby, if Purdue and Indiana do something at a larger arena, then, it just, you have to have the seats. I mean, we can't fill these places up any more than we are. They're pretty much at capacity, every one of them that we're going to. And so 17,700 plus tonight. That's amazing.
That's huge.
I also wanted to show you this here, Abby. This was, you mentioned earlier the conference and how Creighton has to schedule hard in the Big East. This is a conference breakdowns right now of this week's rankings. The ACC had, and this is from Lincoln Arnell, ACC had 6, Big 10 had 6, Big 12 had 6, the SEC had 6. Anyone counting, that's 24 teams, and the 25th team is Creighton from the Big East. That shows a level of parity at the very least. I'll say that for sure. I don't know the exact breakdown of how many, what conference has the most teams in the top 5, top 10. Someone else probably can figure that out, or Abby, it, but still, it's showing that each of the Power 4 conferences have 6 teams in it, and then Creighton's the other representative.
Yeah, I just think that's showing the parity and the way that the talent with thanks to NIL, the transfer portal, just general, like the way the sport is growing, that we're seeing parity in the sport. And that's a good thing. Like, I know we hang our hats on the Big Ten being such a dominant volleyball conference. We're having a little bit of a down year. I think we talked about that before, but it's good for the sport as a whole to have that much variety and that many teams from different conferences ranked. I was talking to Dustin about it earlier this week about, like, I keep thinking about like the Final Four, who, if I had to pick them right now, I think I have 3, but then I think, well, I have 2 that are in the SEC. And so is it possible? I don't know. It'll depend on how the rest of the season goes, to get one from each major conference. Like, that would be cool. That would be so great for the sport of volleyball, is if each of the, P4s got to host or got to be one of the 1 seeds. And I think that would be really cool, but it's possible. And it's just going to be more and more possible as the years go, because of just the way that teams are building and growing and really using their resources.
Yeah, I think it's good for the sport. And if Purdue and Indiana fill up an arena, as much as I'd love to have all these records here too, that just keeps pushing the limit. So if they push it to a higher number, then Nebraska will find a way to be a part of a larger number indoors somewhere, and whatever that looks like, wherever that is. But it's good for the sport to have more than just one school or one area, one conference dominating it. I think that was something that I think held back women's basketball for a number of years when UConn was so dominant and there weren't other teams that could, you didn't have some parity at the top. It was good for them. I don't know that it was great for the sport. And when you start to see that spread out and the talent spread out and the facilities spread out and everything, that's what you're seeing now, in volleyball. And we talked about it on a previous show. We're taking it for granted now. Tonight, we just watched this on FS1. It's just another nationally televised Nebraska volleyball match. A few years ago, we brought this one up also. We played Creighton, I don't know what it was, 4 or 5 years ago, went 5 sets on FS1, and we never got to see the 5th set because it switched over to, motor derby or something.
Right.
And it was, so there is, when you talk about progress and change in that sport, and I'd love to see the numbers from this show, from the game tonight, the match tonight, that we're seeing the numbers going up, the viewership going up. It's a good thing. For all the Redcasters following along, we'd love to get your comments too. The game is fresh in everyone's mind. I hope everyone had a chance to watch that tonight. Let us know what you guys think as well, and we'll try to interact with you there along the way. But in general, I mean, this was a great night here. We won one more time against Creighton. Those poor Blue Jays, man, they're getting close. They're getting close, but they just cannot get over the hump.
Yeah. I saw a really funny meme about it that was just like, if I don't know, it was like I'll try to find it. It was just was just kind of making fun of that fact that like they just can't do it. They put together these great teams. They have these great runs. They were like one set, maybe a couple of points away from a Final Four last year, and just can't beat us. It just can't do it. It's like, it would be really sad if it wasn't against us.
And it wasn't Creighton, yeah.
I'm so sorry, but that's how I feel. Like, I get it. Like, I 100% understand that. We're just like, we just can't do it. And it's like, you want that for them as like the state of Nebraska. This Creighton volleyball is one of the places where I like put aside my J-Sker feelings and like want them to do well, except when they play us. So you get a stat like that and you're just like, man, that's tough. I'm glad. I'm glad they didn't get it, but like, I don't know. There's that like conflicting where you want the state to keep doing well, and I don't know, but whatever. I'm glad they didn't.
Well, we're at a good point here. We're at 9-0 right now. Let's just do a quick review, kind of where we're at right now in the season, what we've done up to this point. So, back August 22nd, the AVCA first serve, Nebraska beat number 3 Pitt. We beat number 6 Stanford. Swept Lipscomb, had the reverse sweep against number 7 Kentucky, beat Wright State and Cal at home in the Emeritus Players Challenge. Last weekend, beat number 22 at the Husker Invitational. Utah beat them at home, and then beat Grand Canyon. We can talk about that match and after this, Abby, the Grand Canyon one, because that was kind of a unique one. And then tonight, just beat Creighton. So coming up now on Saturday at 8 p.m., a home game after the Nebraska-Michigan football game. We're going to be playing Arizona at Devaney Center. And then after that, next Wednesday, September 24th, we're getting into Big Ten play. We'll have Michigan, then Maryland, Penn State, and we're off and running there. But that Grand Canyon game, that was kind of an interesting one. We actually had some of the audio of it at the beginning in the opening clip here with Danny Busboom Kelly talking about it. But, I mean, she really emptied the bench kind of from the get-go, and that was a developmental game.
Yeah, that was really fun to see. And I remember scrolling through Twitter or Reddit or I don't know, something to try to figure out when the last time we didn't play. I mean, we played a couple starters, right? Like Becca was in there and Liv was in there, but like when the last time we didn't play the majority of our starters, and I don't think we ever have. Like, that's just not it's just not a John Cook thing. I don't think he would have even thought about it. In his mind, it'd have been like, it's a tune-up game. This is fine, whatever, which is, I mean, obviously it worked. We won a lot under John Cook. But I loved it. I loved getting to see these girls who are clearly not redshirting, right? They've already burned their red shirts, whether by, Sky being here for a second year or just them already playing. So like, why not? Why not give them a start? Why not, see how they do, see how they come together, see how they overcome adversity. And like Danny said, rather than it being like, okay, you guys just like, keep up what these other players have done. It's all up to you. And I love that mentality of just like, yeah, you don't get to rely on the start that somebody has already had. It's all you. This is 100% you. And we saw him struggle. We saw him kind of get what I think I called it lackadaisical at one point, although that might have also been the Utah game. I can't remember. They're all blurring together. But, you kind of saw them like not really play their best. And Danny got on them. And she's like, no, it doesn't matter who your opponent is, which we heard John Cook say the year before, right? Like It does, you don't get to just come in and assume you're going to win because you're at Nebraska. You have to keep playing like this is a 1-on-2, like a 1 versus 2, or this, like you're the underdog. You have to play the brand of volleyball that you came here to play. And so I love that she did that in the match, in a timeout, and then the team just rallied so hard. So I thought it was great. I don't know if we'll get any, I highly doubt we'll see that again this year. I mean, there are a couple really bad Big Ten volleyball teams that you might probably not the whole game, but maybe like set 2, set 3, you might see the starters not play or something. Just like Maryland and Rutgers are on our schedule, and they're terrible this year. So we might, but I loved it. I thought that was such a smart and savvy move, and it fits both with Danny's premise of like, this is a team, we're doing, we're raising a banner, not a name. It fits that mentality. So she's practicing what she's preaching, but then it also, like she has said throughout the season, of it gets them ready. You never know. You don't know when your name is going to get called. You don't know when you're going to have to go in and be a difference maker. And here's an opportunity for all of them, except, the ones who are clearly going to redshirt, to go in and be the difference makers and earn, prove themselves essentially. And it's always, I think it's a constant fight for playing time still. And what a great way to do it than against an actual opponent that you get to take on yourself the whole time.
Yeah, it's very consistent. You mentioned John Cook. It's consistent with what Coach Rule talked about on the football side at halftime against Akron. You're not playing necessarily the opponent. You're playing to a standard, and that standard doesn't change no matter what team is on, the first team, second team, third team, and it doesn't matter who you're playing or what the score is. You're playing to a standard at all times. I like that consistency of message, from one coach to the next, from Cook to DBK. I like it across sports. I think it's a good message. Boomer, Rob, how about you guys? What are you thinking right now? 9 games into the volleyball season, and obviously number 1 still.
Well, I think it's clear they're never going to lose. So, I mean, no worries there.
It drives me a little bit crazy, just the number of self-inflicted, errors and just mistakes that they're making. Almost like, they get up by like 5-6, points, and then they kind of relax and forget who they are or what they're doing, or it's almost like they're playing with their food, I think is a good term to use there. And that gets really frustrating because you're like, come on now, like, what are you doing? And yeah, tonight it felt a little bit like they were playing with their food a couple times, and they should have just put them away, especially in that 4th set. So, as Big Ten competition comes around, maybe they're just using this to experiment, with what it is they can do and the different combinations of players they can get, on the court from the roster. But, they've got to really tighten some of those little areas up with those self-inflicted mistakes.
My goodness, they play a lot of girls.
They really do.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
I still can't believe it when I watch it and it's a new name. Someone new is hitting it, and then they show the bench. I'm like, well, there's Rebecca Alec just standing there on the. It's like I almost forget she's on the team because she's on the bench there. And then there's Andy Jackson sitting on the bench. I'm like, my God, like how deep is this team?
Yeah.
To be able to just keep shuffling in players like that. And I think somewhat to your point there, Rob, there's probably a level of consistency that gets lost when you do when you're going through that many players. You are getting a lot of different groupings together and everything. But I will only imagine that as the season goes down to the wire, we're going to benefit because of that. The amount of girls that have gotten in there, the amount of reps that they've gotten. I've got to imagine that there's going to be times in this season where we're going to need, all of them, at some point, each one of them are going to step up and make a key play in a key game. And I'm sure glad we have them. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And I'd say hold on to that exact same point when we move into our football talk here.
Yeah. And Zach Danauer, as far as volleyball goes, they're pretty good. I think that's a fair way of saying it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a good chance. Let's switch over here to the tweets of the week. And I've got a whole bunch of them here that we'll go through. Boomer, I'm going to start with you. And I've got about 4 that I want to run through. And they're all featuring the same theme right now. And it is AP rankings and how much we enjoy them. So I'll start with you, Boomer, and then we can go around the room here. But this is from Matt Sprouse. He says USF, so South Florida, beats Boise State and Florida, and they get smoked by the number 4 team, and they're totally out. No room for error. Alabama gets smoked by the number 7 team, totally forgiven and ignored, beats Louisiana and Wisconsin. They keep moving them up. It's not strength of schedule. It's strength of brand. Next up here is from Big Ten Information and News, and they're retweeting the Reddit college football that post all the AP voters. And the Big Ten Information News says 2 people ranked Clemson without ranking Georgia Tech. Good grief, this is getting worse and worse as I keep digging into it. So we have that one. Here's one from Pick 6 Previews. And that is AP poll kept Notre Dame in at 24. Notre Dame becomes the first ranked 0-2 team since 1988. And last but not least, as we're talking about Notre Dame, this is from the College Football Nerds Boomer. And this is the opposite side of that. As they should be, there aren't 25 teams better than Notre Dame. They just didn't open the season with 2 high school teams. So that's a whole lot of different ways to look at this, kind of across the spectrum. People, complaining that Georgia Tech, isn't in when Clemson is on some people's polls. We talked about the AP voter a week ago that didn't know what to do with Florida. And where are you at right now as you read through all of that? What are your thoughts on the AP poll right now going into week 4?
Well, frankly, I just like to light it on fire and pretend it doesn't exist and just do away with the entire thing. I mean, all these tweets just kind of they sum up just kind of what's the problem with polls and the way they're conducted and the impact they have on the sport. The opening one talks about Alabama getting smoked, and then USF getting smoked as well, and just see how it shakes out, just comparing the two teams and their seasons. And that's a great point, because why, it's all based on branding and preseason polls. Why is Alabama ranked? Because they were ranked high in the preseason and they're Alabama. Why is South Florida out? Because they're South Florida and nobody thought anything of them, at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. They've completely ignored the actual results on field and just kind of shuffled them in because they'd won some games and they lost, and now we can punt them out. Alabama gets the benefit of a doubt, where South Florida is and lots of schools don't. And that's just the nature of how it works. The Notre Dame example is an interesting one. It's, do you reward actual wins? Do you reward strength of schedule and who they've actually played? That's a good question too, because if you're ranking a team like Notre Dame because they played a hard schedule and, kind of almost won, then why the hell are you ranking Alabama? They played, the one team they played that was good, they got smoked by, and they've beaten some powder puffs. I mean, with no offense to Wisconsin listeners, but Wisconsin's not good this year, let's be honest. So it just really kind of goes to show just there's no consistency with how people are voting. And obviously some people just aren't paying attention. If you're ranking Clemson at all at this point, you haven't watched them at all this year. You're just hearing the name Clemson and just putting them in there. There's no excuse for them being ranked any further. They're, what are they, 1-2, and they're not good. So, let's be honest, you're ranking a brand there yet again. That's not actual on-field results. You can put out whatever metrics you want, neutral field, Vegas would say this, but it defeats the purpose. And I know people will say it's just the AP poll, it doesn't matter, the committee is going to do their own thing later. Well, it does matter. We all know it does, because everyone talks about ranked matchups, or we beat this many ranked teams. The SEC uses this a lot. Look at how many ranked programs we have. Well, Florida shouldn't be ranked, by anybody in the poll, and they were last week. And it does kind of set a trend later on, and it does impact the sport. So either we need to have some sort of consistent criteria of what exactly are we ranking. Nobody seems to be ranking the same sort of way. Are they ranking potential? Are they ranking star ratings? Are they ranking what they think is good, or actual on-field results? What are we doing here?
I think they're just ranking it based the way that I pick my NCAA tournament bracket. Teams that wear blue. I like blue.
You might be right, Rob. You're not far off from
green's a pretty color.
Yeah. Would this mascot beat the other mascot in a fight? That kind of stuff. Yeah. You're probably correct. So
I mean, there's some power rankings and other things like that are done by like random accounts that look like they have good mathematical equations. I guess they get retweeted by a lot of different people, and those ones seem to have a lot of the teams that you're mentioning like nowhere near the top, right? Like, and it's got teams like Nebraska, like based on all the metrics, we're like anywhere between 16th and 24th. I've seen, like, if you use this as your ranking, and it's just, you're right. It's just it's just arbitrary. Is that a good word to use for it? It's just arbitrary. Yeah, like, especially with that one writer from last week who basically made an entire video just to say, hey everyone, I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much what she said. like I didn't have time to watch these games, so I just picked them. And it was like,
I
what
think
are we
that's
doing here? Like she
I
should have
think
lost her vote right then and there.
I think that's the reality, though, is that it's not realistic to think anybody watches all these. And really, I mean, you go back to the origin of the AP poll, and you're talking 1930s. It was never made with the intention that the people voting in it are watching all these games. That would have been literally impossible back then, But I just think it part of me is like, also, who cares? Like, Abby, this week we're playing Michigan. Should Nebraska be ranked right now or not? And part of me is like, who really cares? I mean,
just
it
win
doesn't
the
really
game.
matter because we're going to play a team and we're either going to beat them or we're not. And we're going to be shown for being, we're legit. We are everything we thought we were through these first 3 weeks, or Michigan exposes us, or maybe it's a really great game down to the last second, like tonight's match was. But at the end of the day, I mean, how much does it matter if we're ranked right now or not?
At the end, it's like, oh, sorry, Abby.
Well, no, I was just going to say, so just two things before I forget. One, the Notre Dame thing is really interesting to me as we just get done talking about Creighton. So Creighton is ranked. Creighton is still ranked 18th. They did not drop any spots after losing all those games, but they played a tough schedule because the rest of their schedule is not hard. Notre Dame has, if we're going to count them ranked again, one more ranked team on their schedule. So they kind of have to schedule hard because of their nonsense independent stuff, and they don't always have a very hard schedule. So I'm with you where it's conflicting. Like, we reward volleyball teams for doing that, for scheduling those tough games, even if they lose. It's okay. But I'm the same way where I'm like, why is Notre Dame ranked? You don't have a single win on the season. And if you didn't start the season ranked, you wouldn't be ranked now. And so it's this idea of like, rankings are every week, ranking should restart. But instead what they do is people take what the ranking was from last week and essentially just move those teams up and down rather than starting it fresh every week, which I know is a lot of work. I don't want to pretend that that's not a ton of work. Amy has talked about how much work she had to step away from it this year because of how much work it is. Because even if you only watch the highlights or whatever, that's a lot of football you have to watch and try to decide if that's a good win, a bad win, a good team, a bad team, whatever. So I don't know. I just think I think it's all nonsense. I don't think it matters right now. I mean, it does, but at the end of the day, the way that you have to think about rankings, I was told this by somebody, is that essentially it's who they think is going to end the season with at least 10 wins. So if they think if you're a good enough team to get 10 wins in the season, you'll be ranked. I think it's 10. It's 9 or 10. I can't remember. It might be 10, and then if there's extra spots, 9.
So they think Notre Dame's going to win out.
So, yeah, which they could. I don't know. I didn't watch them. I don't know if their defense can stop USC's. I think their offense could beat USC's defense, but yeah, they essentially think Notre Dame's going to win out.
Yeah, and although it's kind of interesting to know who the team in 1988 was that started 0-2 and was still ranked.
Notre Dame.
No, good guess. No, it's actually Michigan. So, yeah, the Michigan Wolverines. They started 0-2. They played Notre Dame and lost by, 2 points in a last-second field goal, and that was Notre Dame's championship season. And then they played Miami in the next week, who was the number 2 team that year, and they lost by 1 point. They blew a 15-point lead in the last 5 minutes of the game. So, and then they went on to basically win out, and then they somehow tied Iowa because, of course, it's the Big Ten, and that's just what they do. So. But, that Michigan team did end up, I think, ranked number 4th in the country. So I guess that prediction worked out, but, at the time, it just was what it was. So,
yeah, I just think there's one part of it where you can't have it both ways, too. So, for instance, like what you were saying, Abby, about, I think it's a good correlation to Creighton and volleyball, too. You play this hard schedule right now, you lose a bunch of games, but they're against all the good teams, so you don't drop out. Okay, fine, I can live with that. But then if you turn around and you play 20 straight puff cakes and you beat them all, should you really move up either? Using that exact same mentality, but they will, because then at some point just winning starts to take over, and now you become 9th and 8th and 7th as the other teams are playing hard teams and you're not. Same thing goes there with Notre Dame. If their schedule totally goes in the tank here and they're playing all the bad teams down the road, are they going to start moving back up ahead of teams as they're losing, as they're playing harder teams? I mean, that part is frustrating.
Yeah, but there is no penalty for playing weak teams. Look at Indiana. I'm sorry. I harped on this last year, and it was whatever. Fine, whatever. Indiana hasn't played anybody. Indiana has not played a single at P14, right?
Yeah.
We may have played one FBS team. I don't know. So Indiana has played a cupcake non-con schedule, and somehow they're still ranked.
Yeah,
I get it, they've won, but we've played harder teams. So if they had not been ranked at the start of the season, they wouldn't be ranked now. And that, but to your point, until teams start being, I don't know, quote unquote penalized for playing a stupidly cupcake schedule, why not do it? Just game the system. Why not?
You just segued me perfectly into the next tweet, Abby. And this one's from Pavelka's fat uncle, which this is not the first time he's been on ours. So we apparently like his fat uncle. And this is for the, in quotation marks, it's just the schedule crowd. Nebraska has played the 100th hardest schedule to date so far. Teams that have had it easier, again in quotes, 101 right behind us is Illinois, 109 USC, 117 Indiana. There's the Hoosiers, Abby. 118 Michigan State, 121 Rutgers, 128 Washington, 131 Maryland, and the tail end of the Big Ten right now is number 2 in the country, Penn State at 134. He says teams that have had just slightly harder than number 100 Nebraska is number 99 Oregon, number 93 Minnesota, who just lost at Cal, and then number 80 Iowa, who has a loss against Iowa State. And then finally, the teams in the Big Ten that have had it harder, number 54 Purdue, number 52 UCLA, who just lost their coach after 3 games, number 49 Ohio State, they've played Texas, number 30 Michigan, they played at Oklahoma, number 15 Wisconsin, they played at Alabama, like Boomer said, and then number 10 Northwestern, and I don't even who have they played Oregon, they played Tulane, and everybody's got to be hard to Northwestern.
Sorry,
I don't know what to make. It's still early in the season,
well,
but,
so
yeah, it's still early in the season. I mean, you can literally just pinpoint, like in these cases, if a team's had hard, maybe they played one good game and then a couple of garbage ones. But yeah, it's like Michigan, they played at Oklahoma and they lost. They lost fairly convincingly, and then they played a couple of cupcakes. I don't know. I mean, we're only 3 games in the season. It's really hard to talk schedule strength so far, but I think you can look at things like Indiana as being and Indiana is not even considered the worst here, but I mean, you can see the teams that have really, done their best to not play anybody of any kind of name quality.
Right. I mean, we'll find about Indiana.
And I don't want to.
Yeah, they play Illinois and Oregon in the next couple of weeks, so that'll show kind of what they are. So for what it's worth, these kind of games will probably be a good judge going forward. Are these cupcake non-cons good for programs or not? I mean, I guess that just depends on your philosophy. Are they good for building depth? Are they good for, because K-State was notorious for this back in the day, that they would just schedule just complete, marshmallows, during the non-con schedule. We'd make fun of them for it. Is that good for a program like K-State, which was historically a dumpster fire, one of the worst programs in college football? Is that good for a program like that to build some sort of confidence, get fans interested in it, get some sort of notoriety just because you can win some games finally and make a bowl? Northwestern was kind of the same way for a long time. Or in modern football, are you testing yourself enough so when you do get punched in the mouth by a real program, can you compete? I don't know. So
yeah, I think those
forward here, for everybody. So
K-State and Northwestern are great examples there, Boomer, from a historical standpoint. You also have the other ones. Boise State kind of took more of a mantra. They played anybody anywhere. They would go down to Georgia and play them. And Florida State, Bobby Bowden forever said that it was a 4-game series. They played at Lincoln at Nebraska in the 80s, and they went 2-2 against Nebraska during that time. But they started the 80s as basically an independent, a no-name independent, and they ended the 80s after that 2-2 series that he credits as building the program up. By the end of that, they were well on their way into the 90s of becoming the national power. So it's interesting that there's different ways of doing it, but when we're such a different world now, you're not trying to build. Indiana's not trying to build a power. They already went to the playoff last year. Right now, they're just trying to build teams that can win, a bunch of games and get rewarded to get into the playoff. It worked for them last year. It worked for Michigan the year that they won the national championship. Their non-conference was the worst. I'm almost shocked that Michigan went back to playing a game like Oklahoma after being rewarded the way they were, when they won their national championship.
And I will say it does there's a different philosophy to it as well. I mean, because if you are a team like Indiana, playing that kind of schedule, you're walking a really fine line. You really can't lose that many games. Mm-hmm. I mean, a 10-2 Indiana last year wasn't making the playoffs. Yeah. Regardless of anything else they did. If they lost any other game in that season, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. So it's there's a risk to it and there's a reward to it. It's just what are you willing to do on that? Are you willing to, roll the dice and say, hey, we can go 11-1 with this kind of schedule and we should make the playoffs as a major Power 4 team, which most Power 4 teams will at 11-1. Or, are we saying, if you go 10-2 and we don't make it, we're okay with that. So that's or do you take a kind of a tougher schedule and hope a 10-2 can get you in? So it's a different philosophy there too. And I'll be curious to see in the longer run of the playoffs what gets rewarded more.
I would certainly say a year ago, Indiana had no philosophy with scheduling. This was year one. No, even Signetti didn't think they were going to go to the playoff in year one.
If you'd asked him, he just said he knew it.
I'm sure he would have thought so, right? But
he beats everybody.
But at the end of the day, it's now you're getting into year 2, year 3 of that program. And now they do have some of those expectations. They've been there, and we've seen, the response is not to go out and schedule that good non-conference game. They actually, went and canceled Virginia as a series, and not that Virginia is a great non-conference game, but that was a Power 4 non-conference, home and away, and they canceled that. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
We're taking that approach for the next couple of seasons too. So,
that's what I was going to say, Boomers. Like, I don't want to defend Penn State ever. Whatever, fine. But I think part of the reason their schedule is such a cupcake this year is because I think similarly like COVID kind of screwed up some of their non-cons, and so they just kind of rushed to find somebody to fill it. So I think I read that somewhere that's kind of why Penn State has the non-con they have this year. Like typically they don't schedule 3 cupcakes like that. They try to have a P4. But I can't remember if it was West Virginia or even West Virginia or Pitt. I can't remember. They were supposed to have one of those teams on their schedule. And I think COVID stuff really screwed up a lot for them.
I can't believe you're a Penn State sympathizer, Abby.
Hey,
and I would say for Nebraska,
their schedule doesn't get better in the next year because it's Marshall, Temple, and Buffalo next year.
Right.
They finally had Syracuse.
In defense of Nebraska having kind of that schedule next year because of that kind of scramble to fill spots. I think that's what happened for Penn State. Now, Indiana purposely went and canceled all those games because they wanted to win games. So
we were supposed to have Tennessee for the next couple of years too.
Boomer, I won't even that Tennessee garbage. That's them not playing 9 games in conference schedules. That was as easy as that. And then the SEC goes and proves our point by turning around and now they're doing 9-game conference schedules. If that was in place, Nebraska's playing Tennessee still. Plus Tennessee, their unwillingness to have any flexibility to move a game for Nebraska when we want to rebuild our stadium and have a different seating. When Nebraska did that exact same thing 10 years ago for Tennessee when they wanted to reschedule a game and play it inside of a racetrack in Bristol, that's pretty BS on the Vols' part. So I'm not going to compare our specific situation. I'd be a lot more concerned if Nebraska didn't have Oklahoma State and Oklahoma and Arizona and other P4 teams on the schedules down the road. But we'll see what happens with everyone's schedules, ours included, because who knows as conference schedules could continue to change. You could see 10-game and 11-game conference schedules down the road if that's what the TV contracts want to see. It'll be interesting. But let's move on. And this one gets us to the Michigan game next week, and we'll start to talk about kind of this week. I quickly posted this one here. It said next week we should bring out the balloons for Michigan, Go Big Red. And one of the reasons I said that was I think that we have a really cool environment for nighttime games with Thunderstruck and with the drones and all that, but we don't have it. Doesn't cross over to a game day during the day. And I would love to see a game like this. One of the cool things that we do during the day traditionally had been the balloons, which don't carry over very nicely into the evening. So maybe a game like this, we could have balloons as part of it. It could be something that makes it a little bit special there. And then at nighttime, you have the drones when you do the nighttime shows. I think one other thing that we have, and Rob, I'm going to get you involved here with this, is we'll have somebody, I think, they haven't announced it yet, but someone that we think could be part of the game day atmosphere here. And I want to show this text or this tweet here from Joe Pompliano. Netflix says over 41 million people globally watched the Canelo Crawford boxing match, making it the most viewed men's boxing match this century. And to follow that up, we have a tweet here from Ring Magazine, and the University of Nebraska always stands behind Terence Crawford. The Cornhusker football team wore T-shirts of Crawford before their victory on Saturday and changed their profile photo on X after Bud defeated Canelo later that night. And here's a photo of the guys wearing the shirts and a photo of Crawford with the mouth guard that has the N on it. Rob, what are your thoughts on the Crawford fight, how Nebraska's tying Crawford in with us, and that kind of environment that can add on Saturday when we play Michigan?
Well, I think this is the second time that they've done this, right? He let him out of the tunnel
last year against Colorado.
Last year against Colorado.
Yep.
I think it's smart from a marketing standpoint. I mean, he's his own brand, right? He's a global brand. And this weekend is a weekend where we're bringing in a lot of 5-star and 4-star recruits, right? So if you don't think that any of those kids are going to get to meet him, I would think twice. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of, we'll say, hullabaloo around it all. And I think that it's just smart to align yourself with people who know how to win, know how to be champions, because it doesn't matter if he's from Omaha. It doesn't matter, quite frankly, where they're from. You bring winners into a program, get these kids around winners, and it's going to start to rub off on them. I mean, it's just the way that those sort of things seem to work, right? It's why, whenever you have a job, what did they do? They pair you up with the best people in those jobs to get training to learn from, right? Because that's how you want to build your culture. God, I hate that word. Inside of the program, but and
you're building synergy is what you're doing.
Yeah. Let's put a pin in that for a second there. And I think
we'll circle back to it later.
Yeah, as my degree is in marketing, I would say that you can't get a better branding on that. So it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, Abby, it's pretty badass to have Bud Crawford as part of Husker Nation. He's hot right now as anything. And what that could bring, what that can bring to the environment, and already hopefully souped up environment anyways in Lincoln, to have Bud Crawford as part of it. That's pretty darn cool too.
I mean, there are people down here in St. Louis who we're talking about the fight. And so Dustin does boxing down here, and he was talking to the owner about it. And the guy was, and Dustin said something about he's from Nebraska. We've driven past his house before. And the guy's like, "He's from Nebraska?" And so sharing that, he's just like, "Well, that's awesome. I should pay attention to them." It's like, yeah, you should. So it's even is he going to? No, probably not. But even just getting the fact that's being shared all in places where it shouldn't matter. There's no reason for people in St. Louis to be like, "That's so cool. He's from Nebraska." But I think it's that Midwestern kind of thing that they all really gravitate towards. So I agree. I think that's awesome. What a great opportunity to use right now the biggest name in boxing, coming off the biggest fight in boxing, has I hate to say use it for branding, but why not use it for marketing?
Yeah.
Why not? He clearly has a connection. He clearly has a pre-existing connection with Matt Rule and that team. And like Dylan said, they want the energy to be as big, if not bigger, than the Colorado game. And what better way than bringing Bud out?
Mm-hmm. Boomer,
that's amazing.
I loved your tweet, Boomer, on Saturday night that the boxing match was so late that we may see Nebraska Michigan before we actually see the match start. But seriously, you watched it, and to see the Nebraska branding just all over it. The guys that are walking around Crawford are all wearing Husker stuff, and of course he's got the Husker mouth guard, for cripe's sakes. Coach Rule is there, athletic director Dannon is there. They're tweeting out stuff. I mean, just the free marketing, so to speak, that comes with that at this huge event where there are the 40 million plus viewers. That's huge.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to have. Just anything to get the Nebraska brand out there, especially in today's day and age. With people just watching the internet more than they are even necessarily sports per se. I mean, I don't know how many people watch football anymore, but hey, they might have tuned into Netflix to catch this fight. So that certainly doesn't hurt you just to get that brand out there. And I was going to say, Honky, I was kind of hoping to really see you in like a kind of a red, total outfit with a gold chain on today. I think it would have been a nice touch,
Actually, I'm wearing the brand new shirt from Smack and Smooch. Shane and Laura out there in Elwood. I'm wearing the brand new Go Big Redcast. It's the black shirt, but I've got the white, the white lettering around it and everything.
Thanks for sharing.
Very nice. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
I don't know. You got to talk to
shirts. Yeah,
I talked to Shane. I got a couple shirts. I even have a new polo from Smack and Smooch.
That's it. Texting Shane right now.
There you go. Redcasters, go up to the QR code there in the top right corner and go to our store. You can grab these exact same shirts, our polo, the hats, everything. Go to the Go Big Redcast store. You can.
And I will say, another thing when it comes to Crawford is, there's been that talk of could you do like a Bud Crawford fight in Memorial Stadium at some point? And a lot of that is going to depend on what does he want to do. Is he going to continue to fight, or he is getting a little older. I mean, does he have anything left to prove? Or if he wants another fight, though, that would be a great opportunity for it, and
be the way to go out.
I'm sure that would be a heck of a crowd there. Whoever you could get to fight with him, I mean, you'd probably, easily fill that stadium and just get people out there to watch that. I mean, that would be another just great thing great publicity for the university, the city, for Bud himself, Nebraska in general. That would be awesome if it can be done. But
and could break a boxing record, because I think what they had there at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, that was either a boxing record or as close to it was like 70-some thousand. Could you imagine again with foot? And if it's at Memorial Stadium, you're right, Boomer. I mean, I could easily see 80, 90,000,
I'd say closer to 100.
Well, who knows?
Because you get the seats down on the field.
Yeah.
Everything around there.
Yeah. And
there's been some old fights back in the day where they said they drew 90 to 100,000 people, like some of the old timey ones. And I think one in Mexico City, I think Julio Cesar Chavez had like 130,000 people attend. So, I mean, there's going to be some that just aren't, approachable, but you could get a lot of people there. And for a modern fight, that would be probably close to a record on it. Yeah.
Well, getting close to closing up here on Tweets of the Week here. Abby, Rob mentioned a little earlier about, it's a big recruiting weekend too. And we have a massive top 30 recruits from the 2027 class coming in here. This is from Ruler of Husker Nation, but we've got some 2028 guys. I can't believe we're looking out that far already. And it's really hard for me to pay attention to 2028 players when, we've talked about that, the recruiting scenario that we're in today with NIL and transfer portal. It's hard to look out that far, but regardless, it's a big weekend. Torrey Pittman's a 5-star defensive back from Omaha. Kennedy Brown is supposed to be the number 1 player rated in all of high school football there for 2027, a 5-star offensive tackle. I mean, it's a who's who as we scroll through this. What does that mean? What for a weekend here to be able to have all those players here as Bud Crawford and Michigan and everything going on?
Again, like what a great opportunity to use Bud. Like, I mean, you take advantage, like you said, that's the balloons are a great idea. You do what you can to create that environment for them because yes, winning games and winning the game helps a lot. But I think so many of these players that we've had have come in and have talked about what the environment is like and how they're just like, oh, I had no idea. Like you just don't know it until you're in it. And I mean, I feel like Matt has basically talked about that since he's gotten here. Just like, you just got to get them in. Once you get them in, they realize like, oh, we actually aren't in the middle of cornfields. Like, oh, right, this is a place where you would want to come play. So I think that's huge to use this weekend. I love it as a Big Ten opener, as a game that should be really competitive. Coming off the Bud fight, like you said, do whatever you can. Throw out like no stops. Just throw everything out there. I saw a reply to that I thought was really interesting, and I don't know enough about recruiting to know how important this is, but that are we done with our 26 recruits? Like, do they have their idea of who that is? And like, that's how far in the future? Is that normal for us? Are we, I don't know, historically, have we still been recruiting 26 kids? Like, that next year, and obviously we're not done recruiting them. It's a constant thing, but like, it kind of seems like they kind of know who they want for that. And now we're like able to look that far in the future is good. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like it's hard to follow recruiting. Like just because even once they get here, who knows if they stay or not. But it's cool. It's great. You always want that many people. You want eyes here. You want to get kids here so they can experience it all and not just like what they think they know, what they see in pictures or see online or things like that.
It blows me away how much recruiting has changed. Just even on our show, since we started in 2017 with this, recruiting was a big piece of this. We'd talk about it a lot, and there were different time frames of the year. And, when we started, it was still a early February signing date. And now in today's world, to your point there, Abby, like how far ahead is this coaching staff in evaluating players for that? They're going to be signing these players here in 2 months, beginning of December. They're going to sign those and pretty much be done with their 2026 class then. And then on top of that, do you recruit as many players anymore now that you have different roster sizes, now that you're building up your team differently than just recruiting high school players? Now you're expected to go into the portal and grab X amount of players out of that. I mean, and then you're waiting to see how many of your players leave after the season. It's so different, the whole roster management piece of it. And it's honestly it's become one of my least enjoyable things to think about, talk about, whatever. I just like to focus on whoever the heck we actually have on our team at any given time. But it is interesting that as much as I can say that, it's still important. The coaches, obviously it's important to them. And it's interesting to see that this weekend is going to be, a grand stage at Memorial Stadium to show off to a whole bunch of recruits. And hopefully we get our fair share of them. You know what? This is a great chance.
It's always cool to see. I'm sorry, I was going to say it's cool to see 4 or 5 star guys want to come here. Even if they want to come on an official visit, you only get so many of those. And so that's neat. Like that's a great sign for us. And to have that many, it seems like a lot.
Yeah. Well, it should be a full week. And you know what? This is a good chance for us to switch over to Scarlet Colored Glasses. We still have some tweets, but I'm transitioning us away from tweets of the week into Scarlet Colored Glasses. And Boomer, I'll show the next tweet here, but this is a good way to get us going and talking some football. And we're going to talk some special teams. We're not going to hold off until the end, Boomer. We're coming out right away, firing with special teams. And this tweet was from Adam Carricker. Said Nebraska is the #1 graded special teams unit in the country, according to Pro Football Focus. And sure enough, there's the top 10 there, and top few of them. Nebraska's #1 at 91.1. I'm not exactly sure what that number equates to. Georgia Tech, UCF, Scott Frost right there, #3. Louisiana Tech and K-State. K-State's always been traditionally a good special teams unit there. There's your top 5. Boomer, I don't know what that number means, but I know that in the last few years we would not have been anywhere close to that. So that means that something is going well, and you're not having to use your X sucks, Coach X sucks sticky note yet. So,
yep. Yeah, I still have that handy just in case. I haven't needed it yet. Glad of it. Yeah, PFF, I don't know a whole lot of what goes into their metric. My understanding is they go through, they've got a whole bunch of people on their staff that goes through and grades players based on what they're supposed to be doing on every given play and kind of gives them a score based on that, and then uses that to calculate, the best team out there. And it's just kind of interesting. I mean, with Nebraska, how the heck would you grade the punt team? God, we haven't punted in weeks. So, I mean, Archie's probably just wondering what the heck he's doing here. I mean, this is the easiest job he's had in a long time. So, yeah. But again, I think we can safely say, regardless of whatever PFF means, special teams definitely have improved. It hasn't been a weakness for us these last couple of weeks. There's mistakes. There's been a few kickoffs out of bounds, which you need to correct. I do want to see what the punt team does if they ever do have to punt. I mean, odds are good at some point this season you might have to, maybe, I don't know, or just never do, I guess, if you want to go that route. You don't have to worry about it. Just completely eliminate that facet of the game. But yeah, we've mentioned it, multiple, shows already. It's just a lot of things we'd have had to talk about previous years we really haven't had to yet. We are returning punts. We are getting positive yardage back. We haven't had to worry about deep snaps. Can anyone name our deep snapper right now?
I have no idea.
Exactly. So that's exactly what you want. You shouldn't have any clue who that guy is because he's not making any mistakes. And we're making field goals, that you can't make. We've even blocked a field goal. Kind of surprised we didn't block a punt this last week, but, that's still possibly there this season. So, yeah, for now, special teams is kind of what I hoped it would be with that care. And it definitely has improved. There's always room for improvement on it. And, it'll play a role in Michigan. So let's just see what we can do on that. I think it'll be a big test. So.
And notably absent from that list of special teams, Anybody notice who wasn't on that list?
Iowa sure wasn't.
Oh,
There it is.
Oh.
There- yeah, Dustin pointed that out. He goes, "Where's Iowa?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think
They're-
of that." Yeah,
They haven't been great this year on
how's it?
special teams that I've watched.
Turn, baby.
Granted, they actually learned the forward pass existed and was legalized this last week against UMass. I was kind of amazed watching them a little bit. So fascinating. So someone must have told Terence that was okay. So.
I hope for them that they didn't use up all their points in one game. I mean, I hope they did, but also for them, very much that Creighton feeling, right? Like, who cares?
I don't hope for anything for Iowa. No, they're fine.
No.
Well, speaking of some stats, and Rob, I'll bring you into this. I've got a couple of tweets here to show, and this one's Michael Severe. He said, here's this week's matchup stats for Michigan at Nebraska. Top 40 rankings highlighted, a lot of strength-on-strength numbers. One interesting analytics ranking is Justice Haynes, the running back for Michigan, versus Nebraska's bottom 10 defensive rush success rate, despite 99th ranked strength of schedule. So on one end, you have him talking about the rush defense, and then here's a tweet from Arbitrary Analytics, and it's through 3 games, the Huskers have allowed just 198 yards passing. No team since 2000 has allowed fewer yards passing through its first 3 games. So that kind of, is the whole spectrum there, Rob, of defense for us. That, we've struggled a little bit in some of the rush defense, and our pass defense is historically good right now through 3 games. What are your thoughts right now going into Michigan week from a stat perspective?
Look, most of those rushing yards came in week 1 against Cincinnati, and their quarterback just kind of, basically what we did was we shut them down from the pass game, allowing only 69 yards, and all their other offense came from the rushing game, where I can't even remember how many yards their quarterback had rushing, and most of them seemed like on the last 2 drives. They allowed, I think it was only like 60 some odd yards rushing against Akron and 98 yards rushing last week or something around that. And one of them was against our second or third team guys, where the running back just, that guy could be starting for a lot of Power 4 schools as far as I'm concerned. I think they were throwing a bunch of stats up about him and how well he's played the last year, I think last year. And the fact is that this is going to be more of a game where I think, we're not going to be, I don't think we were fully showing 100% of our defenses there. There was probably some vanilla stuff, not giving away a lot of our looks and blitzes. So it's just, it goes back to the whole, this is week. We've done 3 weeks. We played 1 Power 4. Power 4 team that we played was week 1. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like, this is the show me week. This is where we're going to see the full packages coming out, the full blitz packages coming out, all of the different looks on defense. You're going to see a mix of first and second stringers, some third stringers getting in there, rotating in and out. If anything, if our defense is consistent with last year's at all. So, I mean, to answer the question, I'm not super concerned until I'm concerned, I guess, at this point, because our defenses look pretty great, as in my opinion, so far. And I know I think just people are nitpicking and looking for something to complain about.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair, and we're going to take this by the numbers powered by Huskermax. I think it's fair for the concerns that people have with our rush defense. Even if you just only focus on just the Cincinnati game, then you're saying you're focusing on the one Power 4 team that we played. And it was just some leaky runs that a quarterback had, but Bryce Underwood is a 5-star quarterback who can definitely hurt you with his legs. Sure. What I will say is what I've seen, what I thought that we did a lot of in the first game, there was a lot of stunting that was going on the D-line. And I've seen a move in the last 2 games away from some of that, not as heavily focused on as many of the twists and everything, because some of that in that first game just led to some wide open gaping holes there. And I didn't see that the last couple of games. I've seen better tackling. It does make me feel better. As we're looking at the Huskermax stats here, here's how the Cornhuskers and Wolverines match up statistically entering their September 20th game in Lincoln. Average national rankings in the categories below listed: Nebraska 37.1, Michigan 51.7. But what I see here, and I'll start with you, Abby, here as I'm looking at this, if I just focus solely on everything from rushing offense, passing offense, total offense, scoring offense, and then rushing defense, pass defense, total defense, scoring defense, all of that, Nebraska is literally in the top 10 in the country in all of them except for rushing offense and rushing defense. We're 60th in rushing offense at 178 yards a game. We are 75th in rushing defense at 136. But when it comes to passing offense, we're 5th in the country, 366 yards. We're 8th in the country pass efficiency, 189.20. We're 10th in the country total offense, 545 a game. We're 9th in the country scoring offense, 49 points a game. We're 1st in the country pass defense, 66 yards a game. We're 2nd in the country pass efficiency defense, 72.17. We're 6th in the country in total defense, 202 yards. And we're 7th in the country in scoring defense at 8. Again, competition, of course, is part of this. But if you look at the Michigan side of that, Michigan's not in the top 20 in any of them, with the exception of rushing offense. They're number 15. Those are very high level numbers 3 weeks in. But I mean, you would look at this and just, if I was just focused solely on what we're looking at on the screen right there, we're in the lead here, right?
Yeah, I think this is a game that you force them to throw. Try to get them to throw. I mean, I don't mean sell out your entire defense, but that that's their strength. Throwing historically, at least so far, hasn't really been his strength. So make him throw. That's the defense we have to play. And I know it doesn't look very good. I know it's a struggle, right? Passing defense or rushing defense, but that's what they want to do. That's what they want to do in this game. And so you think about it as like the reverse of when we played Colorado last year, where Shedeur wanted to throw that ball. So what did we do? We took it away. We tried to force them to run the ball. It worked. We won. So I feel like that's probably where that's what I would expect this to happen. That's their strength right now. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks good on paper. We look like a really good team.
Well, yeah, Boomer. I mean, I think to Abby's point there, you want to make a team one-dimensional, right? And in Michigan's, this really is, it's an interesting matchup because on paper, the area where, if I'm Michigan, I'm looking at Nebraska going, okay, let's stop their run and let's try to run on them. And Nebraska, we're sitting there saying, I don't know if it's sell out against the run or whatever it is, but let's get them into passing situations, because I don't think that Bryce Underwood's going to have much success throwing the ball against us unless he rolls out of the pocket, gets out, uses his legs, and gets himself into some open spots where he can throw it. But if he just tries to sit in a pocket and tries to pick us apart, I don't think they're going to have much success, but they're going to try to run it, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've heard from the Michigan people I've been looking on Twitter, and the other things that they're going to kind of let Underwood run the ball a lot more. So that'll be interesting to see how our defense, especially our secondary, reacts to having to play a little more run defense than they've had to these first 3 games. And ran Cincinnati, yes, they ran the ball more, but these last 2, quarterbacks were not a running threat, and generally speaking, the running backs weren't a great threat. So that'll be a good question to see, how does a secondary play when they have to do a lot more run defense than we're probably have had to do, in a lot of the games this season. And if they do have to step up and play more run defense, is that going to open up any passing for Michigan? I don't know. And, I would like to see us be able to generate a few more sacks in this game. I mean, how many sacks have we had this season? I mean, did we have any against Cincinnati? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't in the first game.
So that'll be another thing I want to see in this game too. Are we able? Yeah, are in some capacity, are we able to generate sacks or tackles for loss, in this game? I think that'll tell a lot about how it's going to end up, because I watched that game, Michigan and Oklahoma, and if you can pressure Underwood, he's going to make mistakes. He's new, he's a freshman. We're familiar with Raiola making some mistakes last season because he's a freshman. They're going to do that. And if you can do the same thing with Underwood, he's going to make some mistakes. Michigan did the same. Oklahoma did the same thing when they played Michigan. So that's what I'll be curious to see, is how does our secondary hold up against the run, and are we able to generate pressure, on Underwood when we have that opportunity? So,
a couple of stats that I want to highlight out of here. One of them is punt returns, Boomer, and 16.63 yards a return, good for 16th in the country right now.
Yes.
Conversely, Michigan's at 1.14 yards, a very traditional Nebraska-looking punt return number.
Yeah,
there.
That's about what I would have expected. Yeah.
So
for the record, we have 5 sacks or 41 yards on the year,
and they've all come in the last 2 games. So yeah, our sacks have gone up to 1.67 a game. That puts us 86th in the country right now in sacks. But Boomer right there, punt returns, we've improved. A couple other areas that I think would fall under, how disciplined a team is. We look at turnover margin, and we're at 1.33 right now. That's 18th in the country. That's good. Now Michigan's 1.67. They're 11th in the country, so they're ahead of us there. But still, a good spot for us to be at in turnover margin. And the other one that I was looking at was the fewest penalties, and we're at 4.33 a game. That's 22nd in the country. Those are good stats for Nebraska right now, year 3 of rule. Like that's a developmental piece of this team not shooting itself in the foot and taking care of the ball.
Yeah, we'd seen that. I mean, how many years have we seen that where a stupid penalty just kills a drive, or it puts you in 3rd and long, or when you were at, something in goal and now suddenly you're on the opponent's 15, that we've seen that, for so many years here where we've had those issues, or a turnover just, completely kills your drive. You're cutting those down, that's an easy way to win games. And, we were hoping for that for years and saying every year we're going to improve on that. And so far this year we have, so that's a promising sign. So,
yeah. Well, those are your stats there by the numbers, powered by Huskermax. So, I mean, we can just kind of go around the room here a little bit. It's Michigan week. First off, I just feel like we just need to play this game. We need to play a team like this. My wife Kathy and I, we've gone to the last 2 games, and it's fun. It's we blow them out and everything, but kind of by the end, the second half of the Houston Christian game, it was just like, okay. It was good. We got a bunch of guys in there. That's good. We accomplished, I think, a lot in these 3 games. We got to play a really close game against a P4 team. We had to come from behind. We had to make a play at the end of a game. We played in a unique setting and everything. And then we got 2 games where we got to play a bunch of. But we just, Abby, I'll start with it. We just need to play a team like Michigan now. It's time to play a game like this. I think this team's ready.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we are. We have to play them at some point. So might as well play them now. Yeah, I think so. I think this could do a lot for our program. I think this could do a lot for the team, depending on how it goes. I don't think it'll do damage to our team unless they just come out like Indiana flat, which I think is a really good place to be in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is going to be one of those games where if we lose and the team loses all their confidence. But it is a team where if we win, it's stratosphere levels, because then look at who we play the next couple of weeks. So I think it's good. I think this is great. It's a little terrifying. It always start a Big Ten conference play always kind of gets your heart racing a little bit. Playing Michigan always kind of sucks. I don't know. But I'm with you. I think we're ready. Fans are ready for a good game, and might as well start it off with a bang.
I mean, Rob, I think you're kind of the Kool-Aid guy on the Redcast here. So we win this week. We're going to win this game. And then to Abby's point there, where does that take us? Where does that propel this team? Because you're going to go into a bye week after that. And then you have Michigan State coming to town, we've talked so much about, should we be ranked and all this at this point, but what happens with a victory over Michigan? We're going to be positive here. We're going to beat these guys.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to here. I think that this team looks a lot different than any team that we've seen in recent years, right? And the depth is amazing. We've played 104 guys this year off the roster already. One of the things is I went back and I watched a Michigan-Oklahoma game to see kind of what Oklahoma could do against Michigan, that we might be able to do something similar. Stay in the gap, stay patient, watch, basically just make sure that you tackle, don't let the guy get to second level, because we can shut down the pass game. I mean, I think Underwood was something like 9 of 24 or something like that against Oklahoma for 142 yards or something. And that's nothing, right? I mean, I think our defensive backs are a lot better than their wide receivers. And I think somebody already said it. So if we can just contain them to the rushing game and basically make them a one-dimensional team, or force them to throw at that, then you said that, right, Abby? Force them to throw, then I think that's really where it's going to come down to it. I mean, is it going to be 27-24, Nebraska? Probably something like that. I think that's probably going to be the realistic, but like you said, we're playing at home, we're playing in our environment. This crowd is going to be fired up. I think the challenge has been put out there to, bring the same energy that we brought against Colorado last year, go into the bye week, heal up, Everybody's going to be feeling good. Play against a Michigan State team that's, kind of meh. I don't know.
Another mobile quarterback.
Another mobile quarterback, but still, I mean, you get that kind of confidence and against it. I mean, and then you're rolling in the season. You're 5-0. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's let's go. Go
Well,
Big Red.
Boomer, Rob brings the Kool-Aid side of it. I'll go to you and what, not the curmudgeon side or not the realist side or however you want to say it, but I mean, what are the things that concern you as we're going into Michigan? What are the things that, what do we need to make sure that we're doing so that we're not ending up on the wrong side of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone, it's some of the things everyone expects. I mean, the first one is, clearly you've got to be able to defend the run. I think Michigan is really going to focus on trying to run the ball this week. It seems, they've got a interim coach, who looks like a lunch lady, but regardless, but I think that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to run the ball with Underwood. They're going to let him, be mobile. They're going to try to hand the ball off. There's been times where we looked vulnerable to the run, whether it's, against Cincinnati, where some of the angles we've taken weren't great. And, a mobile quarterback was able to do some damage to us. Houston Christian, granted, it was later on in the game, but they were able to get some good first down runs on us. And it kind of shortened their drives, which, again, Houston Christian wasn't able to really capitalize on them, but a Big Ten program might be able to. So,
sure,
you've got to make sure we're able to be stiffer on the run defense than I think we've seen so far or needed to be so far. And I guess the second thing I'd curious to see is how do we respond if we get, kind of punched in the mouth, early on in this game. We haven't had that in these last 2 weeks. I mean, we've overwhelmed Akron and Houston Christian. They're nowhere near on the same level Nebraska is or really any, major Power 4 program is. It's just we were dominating those games from start to finish. What happens, if we're down 7-0 or 10-0 against Michigan early on? How do we respond to that? Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting to see, what do we do on that point? Or if we do have a turnover at some point, does Dylan throw some weird pass that gets picked or something like that? How do we respond to that? Those are the kind of things I really want to see in this game. And what I'm curious about and kind of concerned about is how do we respond to that? And again, I do worry a little bit about the punt team. And mm-hmm. we haven't had a punt in 2 weeks. That's a lot of practice you haven't had or an actual on-field results. What happens if we do have to punt? I mean, punting is a big timing thing. It's a big thing about repetition and doing it in a game. What happens if we have to do it and we haven't done it in,
that's
3 weeks?
That's completely fair.
Yeah, that can easily go awry if you miss a block and suddenly your punt gets blocked or, Archie gets tackled behind the scene or your gunners are going the wrong direction, from where your punter's punting the ball. I mean, because that's what special teams is all about. It's practice, repetition, and just having an idea of where everything's going at every given time. So those would be my big concerns going into this game.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, those are fair. Well, a couple of presser notes from Coach Rule yesterday. That he's honored to have the 95 team in town this weekend. So it won't just be a Bud Crawford there. This is the 30th anniversary of the greatest team of all time to play college football, the 1995 Huskers. Malcolm Hartzog and Javen Wright will play this Saturday. 3 areas of focus. One was being kickoffs. 2 was being at 70% in the red zone. And that's really important there. Just when you get in the red zone, we got to walk away with points every time. That's one thing for sure. And then the third area of focus, he said, was facing a QB again this week who'll be mobile and run a tempo offense at times. Shares that they'll have to be a lead up front. Michigan's a top 15 team rushing the ball and top 25 team in rush defense. I think that's a good area of focus. One other thing, I looked at the depth chart, and just to show where I think there was some progress made over the last couple of weeks, even regardless, again, of who the opponent was. You look at the left tackle right now, they took the oars off. It's Gunnar Gatula is number 1, and then Gatula is number 1, and then Turner Corcoran's number 2, and Elijah Pritchett's number 3. That's a good sign that they're getting some of the roster figured out. There's a lot of oars actually that have been taken off this list here. And right now on offense, there's 1 oar, and that's just at the second string tight end between Harburg and Nelson behind Lindemeyer. On the defensive end, Cameron Leonard and Williams Nwari, they're an either or right now for number 1 at defensive end. And then linebackers, Marcus Watson Trent and Vincent Shavers, that's an oar. But other than that, there's no other oars. And so, that's progress right there from where you saw it a month ago going into the season. It's very, it's comical sometimes at the beginning of the year. You just have oars listed all over the place. They're starting to get guys settled in there. And we saw that on the O-line. So I'll take that as being a good sign. But I don't know. Does anyone else have anything? Any other thoughts? I mean, it's Michigan week. It's exciting. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I got nothing.
I got
Nothing.
I
This is, I will say, this is like the
Let's just
least.
play.
I feel like this is the least like ugh, I've ever felt going into Michigan week for a long time. Like, and that's not to like say that this Michigan team isn't as good as Michigan teams have been in the past, but I feel like the last few times we've played them, it just has been like, well, I hope we at least score. You know what I mean? It's always felt like such a lost cause, and I don't know if that. And I credit the team, I credit our team for putting a good showing, and I don't know if I feel like finally getting able to see second, third strings helps boost that confidence. So I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Like I still don't feel great about it, but I feel significantly less gross about it than I have in the past. Like
I feel like this is a fourth quarter game. I mean, I don't have any doubt in my mind there, and that's a big change to your point from 2 years ago. The first year that we played them under Frost in 2018, when it was at Michigan, that was a gauntlet kind of game going into it and stuff. We did have the game in 2021 coming off the big Northwestern win, where that was the night game, and that was a crazy environment, a real good a playoff Michigan team, and we took them down to the absolute wire. But one of the things that happened that first drive, we went for it on fourth down at the goal line, didn't get some points. Back to Coach Rule's point there about one of his top areas is we got to be 70% in the red zone. We've got to score when we get down in there. But I don't know. It'll be a lot of fun. Boomer, do we have any comments before we head into parting shots? Anything that the Redcasters have said that we want to highlight?
I've been fairly quiet tonight. A couple questions. This is one from Vince Watson. Our top 5 tackles are all defensive backs. Are we concerned about that at all? Especially playing a running team like Michigan going forward?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, typically speaking, I'm not worried that it's not defensive linemen. You'd like to see linebackers a lot of times be the heavy tacklers in those situations. I will say it's hard to say this on a play-by-play situation, but they've brought up the safeties a lot in run defense. We've seen a lot of that. We've seen Singleton all over the place making tackles in that situation. Also, when a team can't run on us, what are they going to do? They're going to throw it a lot. So when they're throwing it a lot, they're making completions, and we're tackling them, and you're going to get some DBs doing that. That's a good question. I haven't looked at the stats close enough to really probably give a highly educated answer on it. But typically speaking, I'm not that concerned about it. It's not. I'm seeing good tackling pretty much across the board. I am ecstatic with it. One other thing, I should mention this. This is one thing that comes to mind. We have played so many guys. I mean, we've gone 2 deep across the entire linebackers. We've almost gone 3 deep in some of the positions. So you're not getting one linebacker playing 40 minutes and accumulating all those tackles too. So when you're seeing Dawson Merritt out there last week and Shavers and McGahee and McCulloch and Watson Trent, and you just start going down through the list. It's like, I can see how they can spread them out far enough that that doesn't necessarily surprise me.
I mean, our leading tacklers are Rex Guthrie right now, Deshaun Singleton, Andrew Marshall, Donovan Jones. Those guys all have 8 or more tackles so far this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's a bunch of guys with 7, 6, 5, 4. And then you get down the roster and there's probably like 50 guys that have, 3 or fewer. So, I mean,
Rob, you mentioning Guthrie there, what that even probably says is because Guthrie's not a starter.
No.
And my guess is Guthrie's probably made some special teams tackles there.
Yeah.
Whether it's on kickoff team or, punt return or whatever. We haven't had too many punts lately. But point is, I mean, maybe he's made a few plays there on special teams too.
For the record, we haven't punted in 2 games.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into parting shots here. We've almost gone for an hour and a half, which I always appreciate with you guys. It's so much fun. This is how long ago does it feel like the volleyball game already was? We've got an hour and a half in here.
I'm not caught. I don't know. I don't know how long it's felt for you guys.
At this point, it feels like yesterday.
You're still cooling down, Abby, from that. I mean, we are in the thick of it. We're in the heart right now of fall sports. We just get done with the big volleyball interstate win tonight, right before we go on live later. We've had an amazing crowd. Thank you so much, all you Redcasters that are following along, watching this live at 10:30 at night on a Tuesday. It's amazing. And then here we are going from volleyball, transitioning into football, and it's going to be Big Ten season starting here this week with Michigan. I'm ecstatic. Let's go around the room here. Redcast Rob.
Hey, you know what? First of all, I just want to give a shout out, and I'm pretty sure Abby's probably was going to do this, but I'm stealing it anyway. Shout out to the Husker soccer team. Getting into women's sports a lot more the last couple of years. I was watching that game against Minnesota. They were down 2-0 with about 7 minutes left in the game. Came back, scored 2 goals to tie it up for the first game in league play, and it was just an amazing thing to watch because you're sitting there thinking, like, how is this team undefeated? They can't get it together. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just, a couple really big plays, a couple really big shots, beautiful goals, by the way, tie it up. And, they played on September 11th. They don't play again until September 25th, I think it is, maybe, unless I'm not seeing it on the schedule right. So, I'm sorry, they play Penn State tomorrow or on Thursday. Is that right? Penn Thursday, 1 hour, 18 minutes. Yeah, or 18 hours, one day, 18 hours, 23 minutes. So, yeah, it'll be on the Big Ten Network, I think. So that's a game that I would recommend everyone tune in and watch because Penn State's actually a pretty good team as well. So, let's see if they can keep it up because right now our fall sports are all undefeated. Oh, and 97 Nebraska would have rolled Michigan.
Love it. Redcast Abby.
Well, I, for one, would like to say that I'm so happy that we have now survived 2 years of Bloody Sunday without losing a coach again. And I can only hope that whoever ends up taking that job at UCLA will always know that UCLA is in LA. So it's my only hope for them.
They have a great geography department there. That's for sure.
Good.
Redcast Boomer.
Yeah, I don't have quite nearly as much. Did get an email earlier today about the Nebraska Athletics Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony for the inductees this season. Congratulations to people like Aaron Taylor, Lisa Reitzma, Stephanie Theater, Kevin Davis, and Deandra Hyman from the bowling team. I just do want to say, I'm sure Troy Dannon's a regular listener of the show. I will be emailing you about the Baron. We need to get him inducted in this Hall of Fame. It's gone on far too long. We need to do that while he's still with us, still alive. So if you're listening, let's just go ahead and get it set up for next year. Otherwise, you're going to get inundated with an email here in the next couple of days. So
hashtag induct the Baron.
Absolutely. So.
Love it. My final parting shot. 2 things. One of them was, again, Smack and Smooch. Thank you, Laura and Shane. They're out there in Elwood. I got a whole bunch of good Redcast gear here. I got the white border on the black shirt. I love this one. Go up there in our QR code in the top right, Redcasters, and go to our shop, and we've got shirts and hats and everything. Go ahead and get yourself some of those. And the other thing is, I love my football tickets. This is the first year that I have these tickets at the stadium. They're underneath the E Stadium, and I didn't know if I'd like them at first. It's a totally different way of watching a game. We are literally top row underneath the E Stadium, which is still only like 45 rows up. It's not that high, but we're like in the bowels of the underbelly of the old part of the stadium. There's an old men's restroom that's right by us that I walked into 5 minutes before the Akron game, and nobody, I'm not kidding, nobody was in it. It just feels like, we're kind of in a different world. And then
is it all troughs there? I mean,
yeah, it is. But covered from the heat, covered, in the sun, covered from the rain. And then we have these TVs that are under it because I can't see the big screen. I can't see the drone show from where we're at. But they have all these 50-inch TVs that are under there. And last week, there's probably 20 of these TVs that go along the entire length of the East Stadium. They're all showing Husker Vision, except for the one TV in front of me, which is showing BTN, which was the Michigan game. So I got to watch the Michigan game all last week while I'm watching, the Houston Christian game live. It was a very cool setting.
Someone lost the remote to that TV.
And they can lose the remote to it every week if they want. I'd be happy to be able to watch, one other football game, have that on in the background, at least as I'm watching the Huskers. But
Just-
regardless, it's so much fun to be there. You know, Redcasters always try to get to a Memorial Stadium game if you can. I know we all have creature comforts of man caves and all that stuff, but nothing beats being at Memorial Stadium for a game, and nothing's going to beat being at Memorial Stadium this week for Michigan. The environment, everything we talked about tonight, Bud Crawford, the 1995 Huskers being celebrated there. It's just going to be an amazing environment, and I think that we're going to play a really good game. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not concerned about us coming out flat or getting beat bad. I think that this is going to be, a 4-quarter battle with a team that's ranked right now, and I have no reason to believe that we can't come out on top. So, we didn't do our predictions or anything. Does anyone want to do a prediction or? Nope.
27-24 Nebraska.
27-24. Boomer, do you have one?
Oh, God. We'll take the optimist approach, and let's go 24-17 Nebraska.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You're shaking your head, Abby. Do you want to do one? You don't have to.
No.
Don't want to. I don't do them either. But hey, right there. Two of the Redcasters think we're going to come out victorious, and the other two think that it's going to be a good game, and we'll see what happens. So we'll be back next week, Redcasters, 9:00 on Tuesday night, as we always are. And hopefully we'll have more football, volleyball, soccer matches to talk about that were all W's. We haven't lost yet this fall. So, keep the hope and faith there. Until next time, that's another Go Big Redcast. Are you going to say Go Big Red, Rob?
Oh,
Usually
Go
Rob
Big
said.
Red.
There you go.
A Herd at Sports Network production.